to give the people what they want. Yes, I'm JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, the home of Afro Economics, a registered investment advisory firm established in 1995. How y'all doing? Give the people what they want. Yes, indeed. I have somehow like the talking about government securities came to me today, and I'm so glad um that I stuck to the plan. Because a lot of times, like I'll say, okay, I'm gonna do so and so, and then I'll change and this and that. And one thing about doing it during the day is I've been sticking to the plan. I love it. I love it. I wish I would, more members would come into the studio, every now and then. I'm going to put this up here. And, I heard a podcast the other day, and they were talking about um, that more people view than subscribe to their channel. And I am so blessed that, that I have so many more subscribers and then I get in views. Like I'm blessed like that. So please continue to subscribe. I appreciate it. The I hope that you don't get commercials because I do not monetize. I want this to be empowerment information that you have access to. We also even have a complimentary membership. And if you decide you want the one-on-one meetings, you can always upgrade to the full membership. Check it out at afroeconomics.com. And then, click. I wonder if you can see me. Oh, you can see me touching it. And then click on membership. And then there's one called No Excuses. It's absolutely complimentary, because of the members like Mr. Barber make it possible for us to have our complimentary membership and me still be able to eat and educate my child. I appreciate that. We're giving back and we don't even realize, but when you do business with businesses that are giving back, then you're giving back. Indeed. Vicky D, thank you for making Afro economics possible as well. I appreciate y'all. Hit that host link. Whoa, y'all. Uh-oh. Miss Davis came in the studio, y'all. Watch out. Watch out. Somebody got to come in here with her. I don't know what happened today. I don't know what happened today. Maybe she liked that topic, Before she had anything, she had government securities. She looks like a little savings bond little girl. I know we have to hear. I'm sure she's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I had savings bonds in my pocket when I was a little kid. Walked around with them." Look, I don't know what's up. My parents never got me any savings bonds. They were probably like, "We got too many kids. Damn it, y'all better go to college." That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But the savings bonds were popular. I have so many clients that still have savings bonds that they're like cashing now. It's grown folk. What's going on, Andrew? Thank you so much for listening. I see. Look, got two people. Got the Wells in Georgia. Got Miss Davis in Georgia logging in today. Look at you, Tracy. Tracy in Maryland. Yes, indeed. I have, y'all are going to be impressed because I have a massive amount of notes, actually educational material. I'm gonna tell you, Miss Davis, before I won't surprise you. I'm trying to get you one more partner in wisdom that will come in, so you could both and ask me questions. I'll put that up there again, that link. Members are strong enough, wise enough, got time enough to come in on camera, please join Ms. Davis in the studio so that we can do that. But I have something I want to share with you all. And this is, for us all. like as I think about like my journey, and then Miss Davis, had an accident, broke her shoulder, has a shoulder on repairs, been doing physical therapy. If you had asked her last year this time, all she thinks that she was going to be doing this summer was riding around in her Harley with her locks in the wind. Correct?
True.
You
For the
never,
most part.
you never know what's going to happen. Oh, but at least
Never know.
you got on your Harley Davidson t-shirts. look, look, but look, it looks good on you, and your shoulder doesn't even look injured. I think you're ready to ride. How you doing, Miss Wilkerson? Hit that link and come on in here. All right, I'm coming back, Miss Davis. I just got something I gotta tell. So I gotta tell y'all something. We going in. Okay. Today I wanted to just share about, and this is for someone special. This is just, I don't know, but this is for you. And I want to share a message about guard your heart. And a few minutes before we went on, God just had me just writing. So I just wrote this, and it says, guard your heart. By speaking to any issue and building boundaries, guard your heart. Hold on to your standards and do not compromise. Be intentional without being critical. Make changes and begin to build a healthy spiritual heart and mind within you. No thing, and I mean nothing, is more valuable than the passion and love that God has placed within us. Never lose your passion and your desire to live thoroughly, to live out thoroughly God's purpose for your life. You are bigger than you ever imagined. Surround yourself with those who understand the value of keeping God first in our hearts. That to me is guarding your heart. Keep your joy alive. And that to me is more important than anything else that I'm going to talk about with these US government securities and these bonds and bills, things. Guard your heart. Guard your heart. Everything that we do comes from that. Take it seriously. I was looking up about it, which I thought was interesting. I looked up Black women cardiovascular disease and work events, because at one time I read this article and it was talking about how many Black women have like cardiovascular events at work. So when I looked it up, Black cardiovascular events, Black women, it talked about racism, discrimination, inequality, this and that. When I looked up, it should be interesting. You could Google it. And so when I Googled cardiovascular disease and Black people and cardiovascular disease, made no mention, none about racism, discrimination, inequality, nothing. So it was basically, I don't know how it connected it just with Black women, as if Black men aren't faced with the same or more discrimination, racial inequality, and things like that that would affect their heart. But it was only noted as impacting the woman. Amazing. But that article, I think, is because I remember the article that I saw years ago. The article talked about that was largely the reason. So Google only searches what it can find out there. So when it found about the women, it was really pulling from that article that had a lot about a lot of the cardiovascular challenges or the stress at work and passing out and having heart attacks. And I know this man, his wife passed out at her desk at work. That lady, there was so much, she was in a bank. You heard about that, Miss Davis? And she was
In
in the bank for
Tempe,
2 days, like 2, 3 days, like, you know what I'm saying? She's
or
past 4 days, Lord,
yeah,
passed out. But I feel that a lot of heart disease is the T in heart, or our thinking, how we respond. And we talked about that on a Friday morning as well, how we respond to the things that happen to us. Like when I found myself being discriminated and not feeling that I was growing in the corporate environment, I took the chance of starting my own business. And whenever I realized the pain, and I felt it all the time, the pain of being out there by myself, being an entrepreneur by myself, like trying to do something that had never been done before, like that, living this, that I realized that the pain of that, of not being in control of my destiny, was more painful to me. Does that make sense, Ms. Davis? It was more, corporate environment was more painful to me than not knowing where I was going next in my own business. It wasn't painful because of my relationship with God. So I feel that if I had stayed, because I know my negative response, and I'm very, the closer that we are to God, the more we can be in tune with our, you know, our health. I know sometimes in physical therapy, you call on God, right? Like it's like, whoa, oh, now how all of a sudden your phone you mute out? How did you mute out? Like we can't. I don't know how you
Yeah.
do.
I mean, are you serious?
Oh,
I do that all the time.
yes, exactly, exactly, exactly. Like literally, that's your heart. Like that is your heart saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm at the God is like, I'm at the base of it. It's him talking to you that you can do this. You know what I'm saying, Lord? Oh my goodness.
I walk into therapy doing it. I do it throughout the whole therapy session.
Talk to God. Is God help me? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Are you sure, God? Are you sure? That's the way I feel too. That's exactly the way I feel a lot of times when I'm working out. It's like,
But the thing that
whoa,
JB, you got to make it fun. Okay, you got to make it fun,
that's
and you
right.
got to tell yourself,
Right.
look, of all things that are going on in the world right now that are other
That's
people are
right.
affected
That's
by,
right.
and
That's
I'm
right.
worried what about a
That's right.
shoulder when people
That's
are out
right.
there homeless,
I'm worried
don't
about a
know where the
tsunami.
next,
What about a
crumbs looking.
tsunami? Can you
Yeah,
imagine? You go on your vacation to Hawaii, and then all of a sudden there's a tsunami coming, and you're like, "What?
what?
Yeah, earthquake under the ground in Russia. Y'all better brace yourself." And that's something, Vicky D. Please turn on your camera. It's good to see you. But it is, like that is the ability to guard your heart. That is, really showing that personal strength that you have decided to. I gotta do. I'm committed to being my best self. And a lot of people go through an injury, break their shoulder and never do the therapy to build it up. Never do. And like, when I got to the point where it was like, I wanted to switch. When you want to change from anything, when I want to switch from sitting all the time to even just powerlifting, like I was always working out, but all of a sudden you realize like this is going to take a part of my heart that you didn't even know was there. And so many people, like I saw this, they were talking about 300,000 Black women have lost a job, recently. And that it's going to take a part of you that you don't know about in order to get through this, to get through this job change, to get through into this unexpected retirement. Yes, yes, committed to your best self. Indeed, indeed, Twila. Like, Vicky, what's up with your camera, sis? I want to see your face. And but I think that every time there is something that brings doubt, that's what the word is saying about guarding our heart, that we have to find within us the strength to face that doubt and grow stronger through it. To if you're 70 years old and the person has still been working, and then all of a sudden they're letting them, they're losing their job, like it's time to start associating yourself with people that have that kind of heart, that have that kind of faith, that know like that, okay, when this happens, this is what you do. Like I wish that I could get to the people out there. I wish that I could get to the people that are facing these challenges with um the unexpected of what to do next, and speak to them and tell them, this is where you really, this is where your heart gets strong. This is where you become your best self. This is where that which you didn't even know about yourself is discovered, that you are much more than just that job that you used to have. I've seen some amazing, amazing people come out of a firing. I've seen people, I will meet them and they'll tell me, yeah, I got fired when I was 40. And then out of that, then I took this other job, and that led me into learning about such and such. And then that's how I became the multimillionaire. Mm, was a runner in gymnastics. Who was this guy that did gymnastics? What's that? It must have been one of Weeda's friends. That's how we hurt her shoulder doing gymnastics. the the whoa. But it's true, because I think that a lot of times that we think that the challenge with the heart is just so it's just the clot or just the whatever happened when they said that the heart attack happened. But it's way more than that. It's way more than that. The heart issue could go way back to some sort of trauma that you were faced with a long time ago, and you want to heal through it. A broken heart is real. A broken heart is real, and it can be healed. It can be healed. Mm, mm. Yeah, that's our faith. So let me share with y'all something, so we know. Guard your heart. So, understanding government securities, the government itself issues debts. The government doesn't issue stocks like the companies, like a corporation does. So, if the government wants to raise money, then it issues debt, like it issues debts. It's called debt. They're debt securities, meaning you're lending money to the government, and then the government is paying you back the interest versus dividends that you might receive from a stock. You would receive interest from bonds. So they are considered, these government securities are considered some of the safest investments, because why are they considered so safe?
I think they're guaranteed
I'm gonna
whatever
mute.
the
Oh, yeah.
return is going to be. That's
Come
really what
on.
it's going to be. It doesn't fluctuate. I don't think it, goes up and down like a stock. If you buy a bond and it's $10,000
I ain't
bond,
nobody asked you for that. I just said, why is it considered so safe? Y'all just X out all of this child prodigy you just said. Look, why is it considered so safe? Why are government security so safe? Why they considered, you just focus your mind right there on that one answer. Why they considered so safe?
they're guaranteed, aren't they?
By what though? There's,
By the government. They've guaranteed.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why they're considered, because it's thought that the US government, will be okay. If everything goes under, the United States government will be the last to go under. And there's somebody out there that's saying, nah, nah, nah. But whenever anybody says that and they're getting Social Security and stuff like that, I go, look, we want the government to be strong. Or if they get a pension from the government, we want the government to be strong. So don't dislike anybody in the White House so much that you don't want to get your check. Okay. It's like you say, okay, I want my check. So let's make sure we do things that make sure that the government stays strong. Yes, indeed. Like, let's pray for the best for the United States. So, but that's why they're considered safe because of that. But look at how much the actual other governments actually invest in the US government securities. So foreign entities, so just according to the stats, as of the end of 2024, foreign entities held about 8.5 trillion, approximately 8.5 trillion in US government securities that represented 30%. 30% of the publicly held federal debt was held by, I don't know, Miss Vicky. It won't let you show up because your camera. I don't know what's up with your camera. I don't know how to I don't know how to ask you to do it. I know you're trying to do it. Thank you, Vicky. But I don't know why your camera always works. I don't know. But 30% of our federal debt in the United States of America is held by foreign entities. Of that total, that 8.5 trillion as of the end of last year, 30% of the federal held debt, that share is down. That 30% is down from 2010 when 50% of our treasuries were actually held by foreign entities. Isn't that something?
So if foreign entities pulled out in the next 10 minutes, how is that going to look for us?
We wouldn't have to pay the interest back, so we're paying them. So, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be all bad, and we definitely could come up with the money. But the only reason that they're doing it is because they want that check. They want that interest. They want the income. They're getting money from us to do that. But it would be interesting to discover, like, I don't know if that was like some sort of act of Congress that required that. Good to see you, Mr. Brown. That the thank you for coming. I don't know if there's like some Congress says foreign entities can't have more than 30%, anymore. Because I think they want to, they know we're so healthy, and they want something like that. What I'm saying? They might even need it, like, a pension, or like, so, social security and things, like, when you're talking about securing your government, they can't take on a lot of risk, even though we get a better return possibly in the stock market based on historical performance. Yes, like, but what they're looking for, I'm going to have to sacrifice some return in order to have security, because we're putting this money over here in the US, because maybe they don't have as much extra money in foreign countries. That would be interesting to see the story behind why it's down from 50% to 30%. And but what country do you think holds the most? I know what you're
Probably
thinking.
China.
I know. You should say, oh, y'all both thought China. Y'all
Yeah,
was wrong.
probably China.
But as of the end of last year, was not China. But you want to guess again?
Japan.
Ooh, that was a good guess, little girl. Maybe I'll let you come back. It's Japan. Japan, followed by China, and then followed by, who do you think?
Would
Japan,
Russia be in there somewhere?
China. It's kind of close, I guess. Look, UK, United Kingdom would say Russia is not close to UK, okay, lady? I'm like, it is to us.
Will somebody else
You know?
please come in here? I'm sick of being picked on. Okay.
At least you're guessing. At least you're doing good. That was pretty good. At least you said Japan. I didn't expect to see Japan. I didn't expect to see Japan. I the Japan just did. Japan is getting. We've been doing right. We've been doing good, but not. It was actually the UK is number three. But like, because Japan got a pretty good deal with the whole tariff thing and all of that. So we're really helping Japan. I think I would like to visit Japan. Like people always say like really positive things about visiting Japan. I wonder what we could do if you wanted, or if you said, JB, I want to buy some Japanese government bonds. I wonder if they let individuals do that,
Might be worth checking into.
right?
I do have a
Right.
question for you though,
Uh
and
huh.
you may be about to cover this.
Uh huh.
What is the difference in a bond, a bill, and a note? Treasury bond, treasury bills, treasury notes. How do they differ?
I mean, like, why would you ask that in a discussion about this? Like you said, there's nothing else for me to talk about. If I talk about that, then we could just close out, right? Because that's the next paragraph.
Well, I said you may have it.
So,
You may have had
okay,
a bullet
you're
point.
just the worst student. Worst student. I'm gonna put you in the back of the room.
Anybody else, please come in here.
So the main types of government securities are treasury bills, treasury notes, treasury bonds, and treasury inflation protected securities and savings bonds. And then you also might hear about floating rate notes. But the difference in them are the maturities, to answer her question. So the treasury bills are the shortest term. Treasury bills, and they're also treasury bills are marketable. So there is like we could put it into categories of like marketable, which ones I can trade on the stock exchange, and then ones that are considered non-market. Like, and I have put that actually too in my notes. Like the non-market ones, like the savings bonds, are not traded, so I can't trade them. They're called marketable versus non-marketable. And so the savings bonds, you go directly to the Federal Reserve. I think some banks would even do it, but they're not sold on what's called the secondary market, is when I can switch. Well, I literally wouldn't be, but just say, that your broker was switching, selling out something for you before the maturity date. When you want to do that with your savings bonds, you have to go directly to the U.S. Treasury. You have to go directly to the entity that they're using. So that is non-marketable, and that would be the savings bonds. So, and there's two types of savings bonds: the Series E. They have a fixed interest rate, and then the Series I bonds, or they have an interest rate that's combined with a fixed rate and a variable adjusted for inflation. And you could go there. I think it's like treasury.com and get those, right?
My dad worked at Robins Air Force Base, and he had bonds.
Treasury.gov. It would be treasury.gov. It wouldn't be a .com
Okay.
for
He
the,
had
but
them like automatically withdrawn from his pay every pay period. He bought bonds. Used to be a bunch of bonds at the house, and then after a time, I think
the savings bonds, you mean?
savings bonds, yeah. And when they
Because then we got
matured,
the T bonds, the big ones that have the longest securities. But yeah, like you're saying, that most of what we know about would be the savings bonds that directly. So where did he work? You were saying?
Robins, Warner Robins Air Force Base here in Georgia.
Oh, and they had a place there where he could purchase them.
I guess
It's
you know
probably
you
the
either
credit union or something like that. Yeah,
well maybe told the people in the payroll department,
and they let him do it through payroll.
because it was deducted from his pay, so the bonds would come like every other week. Whenever he got paid, a bond would show up. He was paid every two
Mhm.
weeks.
And I bet that was before the 401k was started.
Oh heck yeah, there was no such thing back then.
Wow,
Yeah.
go dad, good for him. That's good. But that's maximizing, what is available to you. I think, a lot of people will say, well, I don't save before retirement because my job doesn't have a retirement um, doesn't have retirement fund, when they could have their own individual IRA with me, they could, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole bunch, you know, you don't have to be limited to just what your job offers, you know. And so it's definitely, I know that's right. Miss Deloach has a computer background.
Finally,
Look at her. She found her way
finally.
in here. That's right.
Thank you for coming in, Mr. Loach.
I've been
So glad to see
trying.
you.
She got through the quiz. I got some more quiz questions for y'all though. That the Mr. Brown said Japan does generally permit U.S. citizens. That's great to buy them. Just wonder, I wonder how. Maybe go to Japan.gov or something like that and do it. But you would definitely have to. You know, there'd be a question on your tax return about, do you have accounts overseas? Blah blah blah. You know, just know that. But okay, so let's go back over. I want to go back over the major types of U.S. Treasury securities. The Treasury bills, short term, mature typically 4 weeks to 52 weeks. Then notes, they're called intermediate term. Their maturity is typically from 2 to 10 years. And then the Treasury bonds, the maturities typically are from 20 years to 30 years. And on the bonds, you receive a pay fixed interest rate every 6 months until maturity. So it might mature in 2040, you know, and every 6 months you'll get your interest payment. And the notes, they pay every 6 months until maturity. But on the Treasury bills, they're different. Who wants to say how the Treasury bills are different?
I would bet you the bills don't cost near as much money as the notes and the bonds when you buy them.
Yeah, you can spend 100,000 on each if you want, like, you know, and like, you know, because those are marketable. So whatever you say, oh, I want 100,000 worth of bills, you know what I mean, or 100, or you know, bonds, or you know, but no. So that's not the point. You can spend the same amount of money, you can get the same type of investments in it. We can
Mhm.
ladder them, which means we can have different maturity dates that go farther out. We can have 10,000 at this year, 10,000 that year, 10,000 that year, 10,000 that year. But what makes bills different is bills, you don't get an interest payment. Oh, so you buy them at a discount. So the $10,000 bill that may mature in 6 months or a year, say, matures in 2026, you may buy it at $9,000. So in 2026, guess how much you get?
1,000.
10, exactly. So you get its value, almost like there's something called zero coupon bonds as well that work that way. But the zero coupon bonds don't have to be such short term.
But
They just,
explain that one more time. You buy the bill and you spend 9,000,
I'm
but
just saying hypothetically, you're buying them at a discount
okay,
based on how far it is away from its maturity date. So you buy it at a discount and you get no interest. But at maturity, you get the full value. So you know that you're buying a $10,000 bill, but the farther you are from maturity, the bigger your discount, correct? Will be
okay. So
theoretically.
all right, if it
And
tells you it's going to mature in after 52 weeks, and
that's
it will
right.
be you bought it at 9,000, but it tells you
8,500. Maybe you bought it at 8,500. But the
okay,
one that matures next year, you'd have to spend 9,000 for to get 10,000. The other one, 8,500, you know, will give you, well, 52 weeks would still be a year. Yeah. But yeah. So let's say one is 6 months and one is a year. Exactly. So then your discount one might be 8,500 and then the other one might be 9,000. You know, the 9,000 would be closer to its maturity. So it might be only 6 months, it might be 6 months out versus 52 weeks out, you know, but you're getting the full value at its maturity date. No. And then a lot of times we're doing mutual fund or an ETF. I focus more on ETFs because I can. Look at that. How's that thing all over my face? I focus mostly on ETFs because the expenses that my client incur are minimal. So but a mutual fund will, have more expenses for the client, but a mutual fund a short-term bond mutual fund may be made up of just bills and notes. And they have a whole bunch of different bills and a whole bunch of different notes in that fund. Then you might have a long-term bond mutual fund, and it'll be made up of treasury bonds that have maturities 20, 30 years out. So bonds have a relationship. So even though we think there's risk involved. There's risk involved with buying bonds. I want to make sure that we communicate that. There's risk involved with buying bonds that people are shocked because people feel like, oh, they can do, government bonds and I'm set. They're going to pay me my 5% and I'm good for the rest of my life. So what happens? What is the risk involved? Other than the government's going to pay it. So you're going to get that interest. You're going to get that interest. But you put $1 million in it. So what's the risk of it? So it's $1 million in, you got a 10-year, you got a bond that's going to mature in 10 years. And then all of a sudden you bought that bond at 5%, and then now interest rates went up. And the new bonds are coming out at 6%. So what happened? Yours just lost value. So your statement might say you have your bond is now worth $900,000 because it's going to show the market value. So you're going to have to, if you had to sell it right there before your maturity date, you're going to have to sell it at a discount. That would be called a loss. That would be a capital gain loss. That would be a loss. But it could have worked the other way around. You got that 5% bond, and all of a sudden interest rates start going down. Now your $1 million in that bond is now worth 1.2 million. So if you sold it, then what? You've had it for over a year. So it will be considered a long-term capital gain on that difference between that principal value.
But that cap gain, you will pay taxes on that cap gain for that year.
That's right. A long term. But if it happened in the same year, I just put you in $1 million bond and the bond went up to 1.2 and you were like, oh no, give me that. Give me my 200. Well, that's taxed as income because it's a short-term capital gain. Even though it's a bond, you're using it like a stock. That's the benefit to marketable government securities versus non-marketable. So if a person does a CD and it's a marketable CD that I put in their account, interest rates go down, their CD might be worth more than what they put in. But then if they had that same CD at the bank as non-marketable, they're going to charge them a penalty if they want to get out early. That's why a lot of banks now are doing no penalty because they can't compete doing that. A smart investor is like, are you crazy? I could, you know what I'm saying? Interest rates are down, or you know what I mean? Whatever. Like, say if interest rates are down, and the person wants to get out, why would they penalize that person? They don't have to pay them that 5% no more. And that would be sold at a premium because people want that one that pays 5%, but they bought it from a non-marketable account arrangement. So they can't do anything. The goal would be they'd be better off staying. They'd stay in it. But if they need it, they need it. So bond holders want interest rates to fall. Exactly. They have a bonds have an inverse relationship with interest rates. Interest rates
So,
go up, your bond loses value. Interest
so is
rates
this
go
why we
down,
want,
your bond gains value, huh? Mm.
this why some people want the interest rate to go down? I thought it was so we could buy more homes and stuff,
I know,
but for
right?
the wealthy,
That's right.
there's
Oh
there's
yes.
even more reason.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Oh right, right, right. There's a lot of money there. A lot of money there. Yeah.
If you were
That
doing
would
the
be like, I mean, like think like with with Japan holding all these bonds, and then if we drop interest rates, they
mm,
could, you know what I'm saying? They could, sell at a premium. Like and I mean, and the all of that is considered. They try to act like it's not, like, you know what I'm saying, but they consider all of that. I'm sure the Federal Reserve Board, like chair, like considers all that. Like, well, because they could, if they lower interest rates, they also their new debt, they can refinance basically. You know what I'm saying? They can't force people out, but they can refinance their own because the government owns some of their own bonds. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we do, but it would, but it could actually help them, and reduce their debt, because the higher the interest rates, the higher the interest we have to pay back to these entities. So when the government is paying out, but there, and then everybody else is above it. So if the government bonds are at 5%, and then you're a corporation and you don't want to give up your ownership, but you want to use bonds, you gotta you gotta you gotta pay back more than 5%, or they're not gonna do it with you. So the higher the government interest rates are, the higher the interest rates that businesses have to pay back to the people that loan to them, because just like there's government bonds, there's corporate bonds. There's a corporate bond market, and bonds get precedent over stock people. So the bond, the stockholders are basically the last people that have to be dealt with. So, when they're investing, or when an institution is investing, they know that if they had a bond from Amazon, that Amazon had to pay them back, they basically be in a better position as far as like for bankruptcy or something horrible like that. The bond stack before stock on things that have to be paid back. But that's just, something to think about. I don't know what made me think about that. But let's talk about taxation before we stop. So it's important that risk thing that highlighted that while the government securities are considered low risk, they are not entirely without risk because of interest rates. But another point that I should say is because of inflation, the cost of things. Like, these rates are so low, and then you still have to, with federal bonds, you still have to pay your federal taxes on it, on the interest. You don't have to pay state taxes, but you have to pay federal taxes. So if your inflation adjusted return, let's say real return, your real return considers the rate of inflation and your tax rate. So your real return on something like a government bond might be zero or less than zero because of your taxes that you had to pay, and because of the taxes, and because of the cost of things going up faster than that low interest rate that they're paying out. So that's why, growth is really important. Growth is important, or structuring some sort of protection. There's been years that the government said that there's no increase on your Social Security check. There's no inflation. And that's crazy. Today I was filling up my gas tank. And it used to be like $50 to fill up my gas tank, which I should never get that close to zero. I promised myself I wasn't going to get to zero anymore, but I still get close to zero. Because you're like, how do you know? Because you go, how do I go all the way down to like a half a mile of gas? Goodness gracious. So that, but now it's like $60. It used to only be $50.
You got to use premium gas too, don't you?
I know.
Yeah.
I use premium. Down the premium of the, you know what I'm saying? The highest premium. I don't even know. I didn't even check. My
You
car
better
probably
be.
could take. My car probably could take regular. I'm just assuming. I'm just assuming that I got to do that.
You better
But
put a gas can in the back of your car somewhere because you
I
do this too
know, isn't that
much.
crazy? That is crazy. With gas in it. That was crazy. Last time I had the police, police. I'm at the corner trying. I'm just trying, officer. I'm just trying to get right there, and I mean, I ran out of gas right there in front of the gas station. He was like, well, you don't have to walk. You know, I can take you. So I got to get in the back of the police car. And I was like, did you look? What if you don't have any money though? Then if you don't have any money, you know, I had to buy the gas can. You had to buy the. I don't know. I think the police officer just paid for everything or something. I was like, thank you so much because I don't remember paying for it. I was just traumatized. And then I got back and they're like, this lady, oh, this is so sad. I told y'all I cried, right? I cried. I cried. I was like, oh, this is crazy. I can't believe I ran out. That was like, why are you crying? That was the first officer. He was right, like, I don't know is he thought the car was broke or so, you know, he's like, oh, it looks like a new car. Like, is it broken? But that's why I know how much it costs to fill up my car. Look, and I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better. Remember last time I traveled though, I filled up. I did not. As I was traveling, I did not let it get less than half. But it is expensive. That exactly. I don't know what HAJ means, but Twyla exactly. So the I also wanted so realize the risk of inflation. That was my point, that the cost of things are going up. I was just ha ha ha, right? The cost, the inflation risk, that your real return on your investments, you really need to know. Like, okay, if I got 5% and I lost, 50% of that because of taxes, my income is high. So then I'm down to 2.5%. And then the cost of filling up my gas tank has gone up 3%. Then I'm at a negative 0.5%. And this investment is not giving me a good return. Whoa. She's to take the can. The mine's got to be full. My car would have to smell like gas. Sad. So the marketable, remember the marketable are the bonds, the inflation protected called TIPS. Then the TIPS, the inflation protected, remember they were really popular a couple of years ago? Designed to protect you against inflation, what I'm just saying. So they have maturities 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. But there's so much trickery with the inflation protected. I tell you, you got to be careful, on if you get out early, if you get out before this, and how long you really have to stay, especially on the one Treasury Direct. That's it, Treasury Direct. There,
So
you
tips or bonds as well. Tips or bond, that's a type of a bond too.
yes, it falls under that exactly. And tips are Treasury inflation protected securities, bonds designed to protect investors from inflation. Yes. So they also pay out the interest every 6 months. And then if you got a floating rate note, the note has an interest rate that adjusts weekly. Wow. tied to the short-term rates of the treasury bills, and it pays out interest quarterly. So there's a market there. There's also some called strips, and I've seen them on the listing. There's a bond trading floor, sends out information, and their strip stands for separate trading of registered interest and principal securities. And these are created. They're created when broker dealers separate interest and principal components of a treasury note or a bond or the inflation protected securities, and are then traded as zero coupon securities. So the strips are sold at a discount and you receive that face value at their maturity, like similar to the bills.
And these are supposed to be some of the safest products in the investment world. Really?
Exactly. Exactly.
Seriously.
When they make it all complicated and shit. Exactly.
I mean, my head would hurt if I
I
had to
know,
be
right?
figuring this stuff
Right,
out.
right, right. And bond traders, like, there's people that's their whole job is just to do bond trades. So I called down, oh, Miss Davis is interested in da da da, and she wants the da da da. They, put together the deal.
No, she
Like,
doesn't either. 'Cause
exactly, exactly. What they do, like, what we focus the most on is we see, like, people talking about stocks a lot, but I think that bonds, as far as because of on an institutional level, I think they get a lot of business from like pensions, you know what I'm saying, like that have to be more conservative than the individual investor. Municipalities, and municipalities issue bonds as well. There's municipal bonds that have some tax benefits. Municipalities would be bond that like Fulton County might issue to raise money to build a coliseum. That's considered municipal bond by local government.
bad roads that they want to repair, that kind of
That's
thing.
right. Yeah, when you go in and vote, and they're saying we want to do such and such a
See,
road.
nobody's
Yeah.
buying those here in Atlanta. I can tell you that right now. They're not buying any of those because the
Well, it's
roads, the
not for you.
potholes.
Well, look, but I'm gonna tell you. Remember that time, you probably forgot, but remember that time I was showing you how much municipal money is raised to cover police brutality cases? They do that with bonds. So, and then because these banks and stuff are looking for bonds to issue, they'll help them put together the deal, and they already have people ready. Such and such university pension fund, so and such. Like, there's a lot of money that is made off police brutality, which is sad, 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 sad. So they don't care about paying those settlements because they already ready to raise the money. And there's somebody out there, there's so many institutions out there like good. And then what? Taxpayers. Your tax money pays that interest. So the person gets paid out millions of dollars and the taxpayers become the victim also because we're paying that back for something that should have never happened.
In the first place. Yeah.
And then we think, oh, it don't affect us. It don't affect us. No, your taxes go up when you go in that restaurant and you pay for that meal and you go buy that gas and you pay for that gas. All them taxes, that you're paying are going to pay that institution that bought that bond that has that interest has to be paid back to by your money, your tax money, your property taxes. So but this is, do y'all appreciate this topic? And it
Yes.
could be, we could definitely do as we progress, like going into like the part two of like, why they matter, why they're important, when would you use it, how are they used, do we need them? We'll follow like how does interest rates, if interest rates go down, we'll follow it. but I do, need to talk about it, more. So this also know interest earned on Treasury securities is exempt from state and local taxes, and it can have a significant benefit for people that have higher income tax rates. So the federal bonds, those federal, they you don't have to pay the state taxes on it. But the state municipal ones, the bonds, I believe, have a federal benefit. We could do one on municipal bonds sometime and look at the but we'll have to look at, I believe the tax is totally opposite. When you help the Fed, you still got to pay for the state. When you help the state, you don't have to pay for the Fed. I guess because they fund each other. I know the federal government funds the municipality. So I guess if someone in that municipality buys and loans their money to the government, the federal government says, don't make that person pay you too. It makes sense. It makes sense. Y'all were great. Y'all were such a great class of participants.
Mr.
Twilight as
Loach,
well.
if I come into possession of like great sums of money, I'm putting
Yeah,
it under the bed somewhere. This is just
I
too
know that's right.
complicated for
Right.
me.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. We say more money, more problems. And look, I wish I could change that song. Say no, more money, more need for JB Bryan. I'm telling you, they are so right, Mr. Loach. Exactly. That's what you got advisors for. That's what you got
Yep.
advisors for. You don't twist your own locks. Same
No, I
thing goes
can't.
with money. You can't. Exactly. Let me take care of this. Let me worry about this. Let me worry about this. That's what I do. I can't do your hair either, but I can do your money. And
All
we
right.
can take care of each other financially. But I don't know if you got to hear my guard your heart sharing at the beginning. But yeah, everybody, if you didn't listen, like please go back and listen. It's talking about that. I feel like our that's something that we need to do a lot of is guard your heart. Did and it keeps coming up. And then even did you see the video where the CEO was caught with his girlfriend
Yep.
at the concert? And then they made it into like this big deal. But I thought like one beautiful way to look at it, and I hope that his wife and her husband, the other people involved, will have some sort of compassion for them if they still want their marriages. But like she said, when as soon as they saw that the camera was on them, they covered themselves. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like Adam and Eve.
And to me, that meant they knew they were wrong.
Yeah, they did.
You see what I'm saying? I feel like it would be a bigger danger if they didn't know they were wrong. They knew they were wrong. And you think how much that he lost. He lost. He lost because of that. Like, and her, but his, especially him, I guess, because he was the boss. But and then so a lot of times you all hear me talk about things in our community on how we should be accountable and how I feel like we should carry ourselves as at a level of excellence. And I think that things like that happen because we don't do enough encouraging each other to do better. Like, we don't you know, like that we should be, I should feel the responsibility of being on time. It's very important to me to be on time for y'all. It's very important for me to do my best to live in integrity. And the fifth principle of Afro economics is integrity. And I feel like that the future of our community, I can't even explain to you how many times my doubt has told me, back off Afro economics, back up, back up, back up. Like, they're not listening. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Because I could just be JB Bryan Financial Group and do what we do. But when you realize that God's purpose for you is to honestly provide honest, non-solicitory just information to your community. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just, you know what I'm saying? Then I thank God for the strength to do it. But as I'm telling you, there's so many times where I go, what am I doing? Nobody cares. Nobody's listening. Nobody's like, it doesn't matter. Like, why are you putting your life? Like, I don't think people even realize, like, my life has been threatened for standing up for Black men. You know, this one time that I did this video on this, Black men, and this person went on there and said she should be hung and all these things. Like, we don't understand.
But JB, let me say this, and I think somebody, Mr. Brown, says this is an important topic for our financial literacy. We need this. I come in here on Fridays. Do you know I look forward to being in this session on Friday? It's like good medicine.
Amen.
And
Amen.
maybe we're in here,
Amen.
we may get
Amen.
off topic or whatever, but most of us that come in, we try to stay throughout the entire time.
Amen.
You're reaching somebody, whether
Amen.
you think it or not. And
True.
if you don't think you're being reached, if you're like me, go look at your statement and see if,
Amen. That's right. Tell them.
yeah,
Tell them.
so let
Tell
me
them.
speak to that.
Tell them. Tell
Yeah,
them.
go look at your
Amen.
statement.
Tell them.
If
Amen.
you don't think
I
that,
need to remember that too. That ultimately my thing is to make you richer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the goal. That's so true. And then thank God for those who allow me to help you. You know what I'm saying? You're so right. I'm telling you, like, you're blessed. You're just blessed. And I just sincerely worry about our next generation. When I look at the things that they're being fed, when I look at the way that they're being taken advantage of, what I'm saying? Thank you. No, I know that you all are, but, like, it's just, you all are going to be okay. You all are going to be okay. So a lot of times what I say in the video is for people that aren't watching, but maybe watching 10 years from now, because what I'm saying will still be true. You know what I'm saying? Nothing about this gonna change. Maybe they'll have some more bonds that last for 50 years by then or something like that. But everything about this will still be knowledge. Everything about guarding your heart and associating with people and developing healthy boundaries, and you know what I mean, and living your life completely for God's sake, like, that is all going to be true no matter if I'm dead or alive. No, and I want something on there, for our record books. But I looked at this video the other day, and it was so disturbing watching these young people beat up these people. I think it was in Ohio, or I think so. I can't believe it, though. It was our people beating people. And everybody's like, woo, 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 and excited. We don't have any leaders addressing that. When stuff like that makes the news and everybody else is talking about us, then we need to have leaders who speak out and say, yo, you can't live this way. We got to let this bitterness go. We got to, guarding our heart does not mean bitterness. It does not mean harden. You do not harden your heart. We have to be able to see the love of God in everybody. It's like, yeah, and I just think that we're not loving each other enough. No, and it seems like the stronger that you are, the more our community is like tries to turn its back on that. Like it tries to turn other, it's just amazing to me how Malcolm Jamal Warner, now that he's dead, all of a sudden they want to acknowledge all of the insight and wisdom that the brother had to say. But he was just some guy from the Cosby a second ago. Now you're gone, and we want to appreciate that. We have to appreciate each other now. We have to appreciate each other right now and hold each other accountable right now. When I fall short, I need you all to tell me when I'm falling short. I need it. We need it. If you don't allow yourself to be surrounded by people who don't have any expectation for you, y'all know how I am. I was thinking about Miss Davis all week, like literally, she's doing all those steps. I hope that she's picking up her pace for a little bit of those steps. Yes, you do need to get your heart rate up, Miss Davis.
I am picking
Good,
them up. Yeah,
good.
my stride is good most days. So
But
yeah,
not the consistent, but like run a little bit and then
oh,
stop, like 30 seconds.
kind of can't do that right now with
Yeah,
this.
right, whatever. She just saying that. She just don't want to. But I don't know. I was listening to something that was just saying about people doing the 10,000 steps and then not ever doing anything to get their heart rate up. But maybe you should do the bike, like do the bike. Do
Mr.
the bike.
Loach, are you going to be in Washington next month?
I plan on being there.
Okay,
Good. That's
that's
right.
going to be a fight, Mr. Loach.
Exactly.
Only one.
Exactly.
I may need you
Exactly.
to come over the
And,
top
and
rope with
look,
me. Okay.
look, because I'm gonna run after you, and you're gonna have to move fast. And I would say, see, if you would pick up that pace, a little bit. So I told you. Now you could outrun me with the 10,000 steps, but I'm gonna catch you. You better make sure that you have got a big head start, because I can catch you. I'm gonna catch you before you outwalk me. I'm like,
But
oh
look
my
at,
goodness.
I got to go because I got to get
Yeah.
ready for therapy. It's at 2 o'clock. So we will see each other on
Psychotherapy,
Friday.
psychotherapy, physical therapy. So you better say
Yeah.
physical. You better say physical therapy. People think they're talking about psychological therapy, which is
Well,
good
that
too.
too.
Which
Well, look, it's all interlocked.
that's right. That's right. Get it in and tell them. But
Right.
but just remember, now you're gonna be thinking about it. But I do think about y'all. I know, like, you know what I'm saying? I do. I think about y'all when you don't even think I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you, Ms. Deloach. I'm thinking about you getting back in that water. I'm thinking about you doing that again.
I went today.
You went today. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love
Miss
y'all.
Clements, we keep a seat for you, okay?
But we got the Friday. We're going Ms. Davis is going to get the hotel information for everybody. And that we should pick the best airport. I'm thinking Reagan, but it might be BWI. So let's talk about that Friday. I love y'all. We're discussing September 13th at the DC office for our members meeting. Love y'all. Bye bye.
All right. Have a great
Bye
day.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Pretty girls.